Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. The Ice Bear King's eyes immediately softened when he heard her. He nudged his enormous nose against the Snow Empress body and said, Snow Empress, what am I to do, exactly? The Snow Empress heaved a sigh and said, You will just follow me from now on. I can feel you are not far from your third bottleneck, and you only have a 30% chance of breaking through it. If I'm still around to protect you, perhaps you will be able to make it, but there's no way I can stay here to help you. Therefore, I hope that you can choose a different path with me. The Ice Bear King clearly didn't really understand the meaning of the Snow Empress words. He stared at her confusedly, and didn't know what to say. The Snow Empress continued, You will understand if you follow me after this. The path that I am looking at is one to become a god. If I am successful, then we will transcend this world, and we will no longer be threatened or affected by it. If we fail, then we have a chance to choose another. In the Doluo continent, no matter how strong us soul beasts are individually, there is no way we can touch the god realm. The reason for that is because that's the rule of this world. Di Qian is sufficiently powerful, but he still has no way of breaking this curse. If he can't, then I can't, and neither can you. Therefore, we can only attach ourselves to the strongest person in this world, and perhaps that person that will reach the god realm, and only then can we leave this world. I don't know about all that, Snow Empress, but I will follow you whatever you say. The Ice Bear King used the most direct method to express his trust in the Snow Empress. The Snow Empress turned around and waved at Huo Yuhao. Come here, Yuhao. Huo Yuhao hurriedly stepped forward and came to the Snow Empress' side. The Snow Empress smiled and said, Little Bai, let me introduce you. This is my father. Huo Yuhao was still digesting the shock and astonishment that he harbored towards the Snow Empress, and he didn't know why she was calling him. However, his entire being froze like a rock when she said that. Father. What did she just call me? Father. He was completely motionless at this point, as if his spiritual sea had turned into ice. More importantly, the Snow Empress' expression was extremely calm and casual when she said those words, as if she were describing something very normal. Huo Yuhao wasn't the only one. The Ice Bear King's expression was equally lackadaisical. There seemed to be a trail of snot flowing from his giant nose. Father. That term was equally unfamiliar to him. He didn't know who his father was, otherwise he wouldn't have been taken away by the Snow Empress. But why would this term, father, appear in the Snow Empress' mouth? The Snow Empress, she actually has a father. She has been alive for more than 700,000 years, and she's one of the oldest living beings in the world. How old does her father have to be? The Snow Empress stared at human and soul beast, who were stunned, speechless and motionless. She couldn't help but laugh, and this wasn't just a grin, because she was laughing particularly joyfully. This was especially so when she was looking at Huo Yuhao, because it was evident that there was some teasing in her smile. The Ice Empress wasn't too far away from them, but she couldn't laugh at all. Her eyes were opened wide as her jaw hung open. She hadn't expected such words to come from the Snow Empress' mouth either. Daddy, what's wrong? The Snow Empress stared at Huo Yuhao with a captivating smile on her face. Huo Yuhao swallowed some saliva forcefully before he pointed at himself and said, You're calling me. You can't make a joke like this, Snow Empress. The Snow Empress rolled her eyes and said, Who's joking with you? I am calling you. Why, do you not dare to acknowledge me? Have you forgotten? I have just passed my crown as the ruler of the extreme north to Artai, and since that moment, I am no longer queen in this place. I am no longer the Snow Empress, I am the Snow Lady that you have always protected, and the Snow Lady that has been growing up little by little. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect such a tremendous turnaround. He was just feeling sad about the distance between the Snow Empress and himself, when she gave him such an enormous pleasant surprise. The Snow Empress' eyes grew tender. Yuhao, I have recovered my memory, but everything that happened when we were together has long been imprinted in my memory in the period that my old memory was lost. I will never forget all the times that we have shared together, and in my heart, you are my father. This has nothing to do with age, and it's just a sentiment. Yes, it's just a sentiment. Her eyes grew a little sadder as she paused. Did you know? I was all alone when I came into this world, and this loneliness made my personality cold and icy. I am the ice sky snow lady that the heavens have nurtured and brought into this world, but even though the weakest soul beasts in the extreme north have their own parents, I have no parents. Rather, the extreme north is my parent. I have never experienced parental warmth or kindness. But I've felt that from you. I can feel the love and care that you have for me. When I'm with you, even if you're just staring at me with a tender and amiable gaze, it makes me very happy. Even though I had yet to regain my memory back then, once I regained my memory, I realized that the period when I was with you was the happiest and most blissful part of my life. Therefore, I consider you my father in my heart, and that will never change. Ever since I've recovered my memory over these days, I can feel the worry in your heart. You don't have to fear anything. I am the Snow Empress, but I am your Snow Lady even more. I am more willing to be your Snow Lady. Daddy, are you willing to accept me as your daughter? The corner of Huo Yuhao's mouth began to twitch. Daughter, the Snow Empress, the Ice Sky Snow Lady, third amongst the 10 great savage beasts, and a soul beast with 700,000 years of cultivation. Gods! What has happened to this world? Even though he was full of yearning towards the Snow Empress before this, his first reaction, when the Snow Empress was standing in front of him, and saying to him plainly that she wanted to be his daughter, wasn't happiness. He could almost feel his nose bleeding. That was just. The Snow Empress pouted and said, Daddy, do you not want me anymore? Then I will become a child with no home to return to. The Snow Empress was incredibly gorgeous from the beginning. Everything came from her heart, and even though she seemed like a lady who had grown up, her voice, eyes, and tone were no different from the little Snow Lady back then. Of course I do. Huo Yuhao sputtered. All right, then. The Snow Empress giggled as she pranced forward and wrapped her arms around Huo Yuhao's arm. I have been trying too hard to pretend after I've recovered my memory. I would rather be the Snow Lady. More accurately, the memory that belongs to the Snow Lady has allowed me to find myself. I am a little reluctant to give away my position as the ruler of the extreme north, but now I feel as if I have been liberated, and all my responsibilities are no more. I will live my life happily from today onwards, and that feeling is just fantastic. Isn't that right, Daddy? Huo Yuhao really wanted to ask her if she could stop calling him that. After all, they looked like they were of the same age. The Snow Empress calling him just made him feel very strange. The Ice Empress voice came from behind her. Snow, you're calling him father. What about me? The Snow Empress turned around and giggled at the Ice Empress. I don't care about that. I have already found your lover, Ice. Don't worry, we can do things differently. You have been addressing him by his name anyway. It hasn't been easy for me to find this familial love, Ice. Aren't you happy for me? Yes, of course I am happy, the Ice Empress forced a laugh, but this sudden change of events does make me feel a little weird. The Snow Empress chortled and said, There's nothing weird about this. I am still me, and I am still the same snow in your heart. Everything is fine if that hasn't changed. Little Bai, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and greet your grandfather. Haven't you always wanted me to be your mother? All right, I am willing to accept you as my son. Grandfather, the Ice Bear King stared at Huo Yuhao with blank eyes. He could definitely tell that Huo Yuhao was a human. But the Snow Empress, whom he had endless respect for, actually called a human such as this her father. That was just. Huo Yuhao himself felt incredibly peculiar. He suddenly had a daughter today, and she felt like a very formal one, and now he had a grandson. He wasn't even married yet. He didn't know if he should laugh or cry. Everything was just so peculiar, but he couldn't not recognize the Snow Empress as his daughter. There's a good boy, the Snow Empress patted the Ice Bear King on his nose, and she waved her right hand across the air and pointed. A dark blue ice crystal hovered in front of the Ice Bear King. This is your grandfather's gift to you. The Ice Bear King was momentarily stunned. When he managed to see what was in front of him with clarity, his eyes immediately widened. That's manifold mysterious ice essence. The Snow Empress nodded and said, yes. How's that? Isn't your grandfather generous? Generous, yes. He's very generous. Greetings, grandfather. Thank you, grandfather. The way he addressed Huo Yuhao clearly sounded a lot smoother this time. The Ice Bear King stared at the manifold mysterious ice essence as he swallowed balls of saliva again and again, as if he were about to start drooling. However, before he could raise his paws to take it, the Snow Empress withdrew the ice crystal. You have to wait for a little while, and you can't absorb it yet. This will be used to stabilize the origin of your consciousness. Let's do it this way. Let me explain things to you as your mother. Ice, your aunt, and I have merged with your grandfather. Simply put, we have assimilated part of our power with your grandfather. You have already felt that your grandfather is a human. He is the most talented human in the world today. The Snow Empress said seriously, in the future, we'll do our best to become gods. Once your grandfather becomes a god, we can also enter the god realm and break free from the limits of this world. This is why you need to fuse with your grandfather. After fusing, you can use this manifold mysterious ice essence to ensure that your spiritual sense is protected. Things will be fine like this. All right, Mom. Whatever you say. I'll listen to you. I know you won't harm me. I still thought that you were biased towards our Tai. It seems like you're really biased, but you're biased towards me. Our Tai has no chance of becoming a god. Ha 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 ha. I'm so happy. Huo Yuhao's heart couldn't take it. This Ice Bear King has a one-track mind. Is he not worried that he can't make a successful breakthrough? Right now, he finally understood why the Snow Empress wanted to pass the position of the leader of the Ice Plains of the extreme north to the Tai-Tan Snow Devil King, instead of the Ice Bear King. The Snow Empress nodded and said, it's good as long as you're willing to. Because it involves giving up your own body, you have to be completely willing to do so. You can't be forced at all. I'm not forced. I'm not forced at all. The Ice Bear King said delightedly. The Snow Empress said, all right, you should return to your tribe to recount things to them. Once you leave this time, I'm afraid you won't have time to return anymore. All right. The Ice Bear King agreed before turning and rushing off. The Ice Empress laughed. Little Bai is really that naive. He hasn't changed in all these years. He trusts you completely. The Snow Empress smiled and said, Daddy formed a soul core, and his spiritual power is enough to accommodate another spirit. Let's take this spot first before he gives it to his spirit eyes. Given Little Bai's abilities, he can be the 8th and 9th soul rings. When Daddy cultivates until he reaches 8 rings, he can fuse completely with Little Bai. After that, I'll help Little Bai suppress some of his powers and wait until Daddy reaches rank 90 before letting him become the 9th soul ring of Daddy's ultimate ice martial soul. I am confident with the manifold mysterious ice essence around. Huo Yuhao revealed a bitter smile on his face. Snow Empress, can you change? The Ice Empress immediately nodded. Change it. I can't stand it either. The Snow Empress glanced at Huo Yuhao and said, I'll change it if you stop being so skeptical in the future. Don't forget that I'm your first spirit, and I gave you 4 soul rings. This means that we are actually very closely connected. Furthermore, because you burned your teacher's divine senses as an intermediary to connect with my spiritual mind, I'm able to sense everything in your mind. Huo Yuhao was in a daze. Yes. I completely forgot about that. I've been using my mind to control the Snow Lady all this while. After she regained her memory, this became mutual. Without a doubt, the Snow Empress must have had sensed his intentions and emotional changes. That was why she mentioned this. The Snow Empress drifted to his side. All right, I'll call you by your name and you'll call me the Snow Lady. Not only is this less unfamiliar, but it's also less weird. Okay. Huo Yuhao nodded repeatedly. Snow Lady is great. It sounds the most natural. The Ice Empress expression turned slightly weird now. The look in her eyes appeared to be that of jealousy at this moment. The Snow Empress said to Huo Yuhao, "They'll need some time to return. You can cultivate here first. The environment of the extreme north is extremely suitable for you to cultivate." All right. The Snow Empress problem had been settled, and Huo Yuhao was in a good mood right now. He sat cross-legged on the ground and immediately entered a cultivation state. This was already the core region of the extreme north. The temperature was extremely low. If an ordinary person were here, he would become an ice sculpture in just a few breaths. In such an extremely chilly environment, the amount of ice was naturally greater than in most other places. Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice martial soul had only fused with a part of the Ice Empress strength in the beginning. It wasn't pure enough yet. However, he slowly fused with the soul power origin of the Ice Empress as his powers increased. As his own abilities increased, his ultimate ice became more and more elemental. This was especially so after he fused with the Snow Empress, who became his spirit. His ultimate ice was slowly becoming stronger and stronger. However, Huo Yuhao did face difficulties in this process. For example, when the Snow Empress poured her ice-type origin energy into him, he was disabled for some time. After absorbing the manifold mysterious ice essence, Huo Yuhao's own condition had improved leaps and bounds. Such an improvement couldn't be described physically. Rather, it was his increased sensations of his ultimate ice. During this process, his ultimate ice also started to become more and more extreme. In fact, to say that something was ultimate was just a way of describing it. There was no way such an extreme could ever be achieved. Whether it was Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice, the Snow Empress ultimate ice, or the Ice Empress ultimate ice, they couldn't possibly reach absolute zero. However, as Huo Yuhao's abilities improved and his understanding of ultimate ice increased, they kept on proceeding in this direction. An ice-type soul master could reach just above -100°C, and his soul skills could also reach such a standard. However, more and more ice-type soul masters would fail as the temperature continued to fall. When the temperature reached -150°C, every unit drop in temperature required not just hard work, but also talent, and the quality of a soul master's martial soul. Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice was the most terrifying in the sense that it kept on changing. The Ice Empress had reached an all-time low of -190°C at her peak, whereas the Snow Empress could reach around -205°C. These were their limits. These were also the limits of the continent's ice-type soul beasts and ice-type soul masters. This was why an ultimate ice martial soul referred to a temperature below -150°C when the martial soul unleashed a soul skill. Initially, Huo Yuhao couldn't do this when he first fused with the Ice Empress. But as his cultivation improved, he was slowly proceeding in this direction. Right now, the lowest temperature that he could reach was already far below this temperature. Even though he couldn't compare to the Snow Empress and Ice Empress at their peaks, he could still control his soul skills to a temperature below -165°C after fusing with the manifold mysterious ice essence. This was the true standard of ultimate ice. This was especially so in recent times. After the Snow Empress woke up from her sleep, she gave him some guidance. With the Snow Empress' help, Huo Yuhao's understanding of ultimate ice kept on deepening. It was not to say that the Ice Empress didn't advise him in the past. However, the Ice Empress and Snow Empress were different. Although the Ice Empress had turned into Huo Yuhao's martial soul, she was still a soul beast, and the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion. An Ice Jade Scorpion's cultivation method and understanding and control of ice elements were very different from humans. As the Ice Sky Snow Lady, the Snow Empress was a living spirit birthed from the essence of heaven and earth even though she was categorized as a soul beast. She looked very similar to humans. This was why Huo Yuhao found it easier to implement her advice. The Snow Empress kept on emphasizing that Huo Yuhao was very reliant on his spirit eyes. Right now, his spirit eyes had grown to a certain standard, and his soul core had already been formed. If he wanted to improve further, the amount of effort that he needed to use was going to be many times higher. His ultimate ice martial soul hadn't been completely tapped yet. This was why he needed to improve his second martial soul, if he really wanted to increase his abilities. It was even more essential for him to understand his own martial soul and the ice element. Just like the Snow Empress had said, it was much easier for him to understand the mysteries of ice in the core region of the extreme north compared to other places. Huo Yuhao relaxed his body and circulated his mysterious heaven technique. He switched to his Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion. Naturally, his mysterious heaven technique turned into a cold current that flowed through his body. Although his spirit eyes were shut, his immense spiritual control was still there. Huo Yuhao didn't cultivate directly, rather, he tried his best to relax and silently sense the ice around him. Ice was the solid state of water. Water nourished all living beings, and was the origin of life. However, ice could complete life. To some extent, water and ice weren't just related by temperature. They represented the changes between life and death. He was silently sensing things around him and understanding them. He was very invested in it. The Snow Empress stood beside him and shut her beautiful eyes. She was also silently sensing. What she sensed were Huo Yuhao's emotions and the changes in his body. She looked very calm and peaceful as she stood there. There was a slight smile on her face. She didn't look as cold as she used to be. It felt as if she were a wife trying to protect her lover. The Ice Empress was a little dazed as she stood to one side. She also didn't understand why the Snow Empress was so nice to Huo Yuhao. It isn't about working together anymore. Don't tell me that the Snow Empress likes him. Impossible, this is impossible. The Snow Empress is the Ice Sky Snow Lady, a genie of heaven and earth. How could she fall for a human? However, the way she called to him. The Ice Empress thought of how the Snow Empress had called Huo Yuhao daddy earlier, and felt goosebumps on her arms. Don't think too much. Just follow your heart. A projection silently drifted from Huo Yuhao's body and landed beside the Ice Empress. It was the Sky Dream Iceworm's human form. I don't need you to care. The Ice Empress snapped. The Sky Dream Iceworm chuckled and said, when it comes to relationships, you really have to seek me for advice. I'm great at them. How so? The Ice Empress asked, unimpressed. The Sky Dream Iceworm replied delightedly, of course I'm great at them. See, I made you fall in love with me unwittingly. Am I not great? Do you have any shame? Do iceworms have any shame? Brother Sky Dream asked casually. I really want to strangle you. The Ice Empress twisted her head and looked at him fiercely. Brother Sky Dream looked deeply into her eyes. Could you bear to do so? Scram. The Ice Empress lifted her hands and wanted to push him away. The Sky Dream Iceworm flipped his wrist and grabbed her arm. Naturally, he pulled her into his embrace. The Ice Empress was furious as she struggled. However, he lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. Suddenly, the Ice Empress' body flashed with jade green electricity. After this, her entire body turned rigid. If any soul beast from the extreme north saw this, it would instantly be greatly shocked. Ice Empress, she was the Ice Empress. She was only inferior to the Snow Empress in the extreme north. The strongest Ice Jade Scorpion was actually kissed by someone. The Sky Dream Iceworm was only sneaking an attack initially, but very soon, he discovered that the Ice Empress didn't resist at all. Her hands even tightly grabbed onto the front of his shirt, which he had conjured up using his spiritual sense. How could he possibly give up such a rare opportunity? The half-hearted attempt instantly turned into deep research. His kiss was extremely passionate. The Ice Empress' body gradually turned from rigid to soft. Although she appeared to be trying to push the Sky Dream Iceworm away, she didn't do so in the end. The Snow Empress lifted her head to look at the two of them. She shook her head helplessly and shut her eyes. Even the Ice Empress reacted after being kissed many times. When she used force to push Brother Sky Dream away, her face was already red. He put on a fantastic performance at this moment, revealing an indignant look on his face, as if he were a kid that had done something wrong. He lowered his head. Ice, I was wrong. The Ice Empress was about to rage, but couldn't help but be stunned when she saw him like this. Before she could even rage, she subconsciously asked, "What did you do wrong?" The Sky Dream Iceworm lowered his head and said, My first kiss has been given to you just like that. Ice, you must take responsibility." The Ice Empress was stunned for a moment. After this, she raged, "Nonsense. Wasn't that my first kiss too?" "Indeed so." Brother Sky Dream instantly lifted his head. There was a look of delightful surprise on his face. Even his eyes were shining brightly. "Do you want to die?" The Ice Empress aura ballooned. This time, she was well and truly going to rage. "Stop. Ice, clam down. Let me analyze the Snow Empress situation for you right now." The Sky Dream Iceworm immediately changed his expression and looked very serious. The Ice Empress had already lifted her hand, but when she saw him like that, she eventually didn't smack him. "Tell me." The Ice Empress gritted her teeth and demanded. The Sky Dream Iceworm was serious as he said, "The situation that the Snow Empress is facing is very normal. Initially, she wanted to be reborn as a human and seek an important path. This was because she realized that as a soul beast, she can't possibly overcome the limits of this world no matter how strong she is, even if she were like Di Tian, and reach the godly realm. This is something that soul beasts can't accomplish. She only has a chance by being reborn as a human. However, who knew that she would meet despicable humans who took her embryo away just as she was filled with hope? She was greatly tormented because of that, as she was likely to become a human soul master's soul ring. It was Yuhao who saved her. Then, the Snow Empress didn't lose her awareness. She was still as strong as ever. Without any choice, she fused into Yuhao's body and left with him. From then on, she truly entered the world of humans. Not long after that, her compressed origin power was completely unleashed because Yuhao absorbed the frigid jade essence bed, which led to her fusion as his spirit. Because of that, Yuhao's teacher had to burn his divine sense and left this world. Although the Snow Empress didn't explicitly say it, she has always felt that she owes Yuhao. Furthermore, Huo Yuhao treated her very well after she became the Snow Lady. After some time, some feelings must have developed. The Snow Empress was originally the Ice Sky Snow Lady. In the extreme north, all soul beasts respected and feared her. From Yuhao, she sensed unprecedented closeness. When she was still the little Snow Lady, she really treated Yuhao as her father. This was why she found it very natural to call him Daddy all this while. Right now, the Snow Empress choice was made because of two reasons. First, she's tired of the lonely life she has here, and is striving to integrate into the world of humans. Second, I reckon that she has no way of leaving Yuhao. The fusion between her and Yuhao is even deeper than ours. The Ice Empress was astonished and asked, "How is that possible? I am Yuhao's martial soul. You're not too shabby either. You've even fused your spiritual origin with him. How can our fusion with him not be as deep as his with the Snow Empress?" The Sky Dream Iceworm chuckled and answered, "You probably won't know this. You forgot something important. When the Snow Empress became Yuhao's spirit, Yuhao's teacher, Electrolux, actually burned the remnants of his divine sense. No matter what, he was halfway to becoming a god. Under such a circumstance, do you not agree that a fusion using the remnants of his divine sense would be deeper? I can feel that the Snow Empress and Yuhao might even be related by blood. This is what we lack. This also means that her origin might have become a part of Yuhao. As a teacher, Electrolux must have had left some benefits for his own disciple by sacrificing his own life. Because of that, Huo Yuhao feels much closer to the Snow Empress." After hearing the Sky Dream Iceworm's analysis, the Ice Empress forgot about how she was taken advantage of earlier, and entered a pensive state. The Sky Dream Iceworm said, "All right, Ice. I'm going to return to Yuhao's body to cultivate. I haven't fully absorbed the manifold mysterious ice essence." After he finished speaking, he turned into a beam of flowing light, and vanished into Huo Yuhao's body. After a brief moment, the Ice Empress reacted. I haven't settled my score with this scoundrel for taking advantage of me. However, Huo Yuhao was cultivating right now. She couldn't possibly cause a disturbance in his spiritual sea. She was immediately furious as she pouted her lips. However, she turned slightly red from embarrassment when she recalled how the Sky Dream Iceworm had kissed her. Apart from embarrassment, she also felt a slight sense of sweetness. When Huo Yuhao awoke from his meditation, he only felt that his entire body had become completely clear. In this short span of time, he felt as if he had turned into a block of ice, and sensed the eternal past of ice. However, when he opened his eyes, he immediately discovered that he was probably the only one who thought that only a short amount of time had passed. This was because there were a bunch of Titan Snow Devils standing around him. The Titan Snow Devil King was standing in front. Not far from him was the Ice Bear King. Evidently, they had returned after accounting to their own people. The Snow Empress still stood beside Huo Yuhao, and she smiled as she said, "You're awake. You've achieved pretty good results." Seeing the smile on her face, both the Titan Snow Devil King and Ice Bear King were in a slight daze. The Snow Empress has smiled. Since when has she liked smiling? Is she smiling for this weak human being? Huo Yuhao drifted up and nodded at the Snow Empress before saying, "I don't know what I've comprehended, but it feels good." The Snow Empress said, "We still need to wait for a while before we can leave. Ice has also returned to her own people. I'm not sure whether she'll return upon leaving this time. She'll need to account to her own species too." All right. Huo Yuhao was moved. After fusing with the manifold mysterious ice essence, the Ice Empress origin had indeed been completely consolidated. She could now remain some distance from Huo Yuhao. The Snow Empress shared a strong sense of telepathy with him, and naturally knew what he was thinking. She nodded and said, "At least within the core region of the extreme north. However, she can't do it for too long. After all, their origins are in your body. If they remain too far away from you, their spiritual sense will weaken. They can only recover in your body. After leaving your body, they'll only be draining themselves." I see. Huo Yuhao was enlightened. The Ice Empress didn't make them wait too long. In less than 2 hours, she had already turned into a beam of jade-green light and returned. However, she didn't say anything, and directly fused back into Huo Yuhao's body. Her separation from her own species had inevitably left her slightly depressed. The Ice Bear King and Titan Snow Devil King opened their eyes wide in shock when they saw the Ice Empress fusing into Huo Yuhao's body just like that. They didn't know what was going on. The Snow Empress calmly said, "All right, let's move on." As she spoke, she dragged Huo Yuhao up and landed on the Ice Bear King's wide shoulders. It was Huo Yuhao's first time sitting on an ice bear. He felt as if he was sitting on a mountain, as he sat on the Ice Bear King's shoulders. There was even the massive Titan Snow Devil King beside him. The Titan Snow Devil King was now the leader of the ice plains of the extreme north. This video will end here.